Hey, this is Bjorn Strid from Soilwork, and you're watching MULATSCHAG, the only TV you need.
All right, you got a doctor on tour. That helps.
Yes, that definitely helps. Yeah, and he's my house doctor as well. Actually, it's true. His name is on my pills. So yeah.
Is he still practicing? I mean, if there is a fan dropping down, is he jumping from the stage, helping out?
I guess he would. Yeah. I mean, since he's off duty, I think he would prefer to just play rock and roll. But yeah, if that would happen, he would definitely help out. Yeah.
Sure. How long did he practice?
Well, he's still practicing. You know, he manages to do both things. Yeah, best of both worlds, I guess. So yeah, he has a very understanding you know, employer, whatever. So
it was back in '98. You started out on a French label.
Yeah.
So how has the following been in France over the years?
It's been pretty good. Sadly enough, we haven't played in France for a couple of years, but I do know that we're going to France in March next year. So that's about time. But we do have a very strong following in France, and obviously it helped to be on a French label in the beginning of our career as well.
It's slightly different metal scene there, because France is always a bit different.
Yeah, but they do produce a lot of good bands too, for sure. You know, Gojira, obviously, like everybody is mentioning, but that's a great example of a band that started out in the same label. I don't know what label they're on, if they're still on Listenable Records, but yeah, he definitely had Laurent Merle that's on Listenable Records. He definitely have an ear for great bands, for sure. So
I just caught on a band from Andorra.
Really?
You know, it's a small. Yeah. So metal's everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
A big name in your career always pops up. It's Rob Halford, because he mentioned Soilwork as, yeah, listening to those guys. Yeah. How was your first reaction when you heard that like a legend is saying that?
Well, first time I saw that was back in, I would guess around 2000. And I was reading this Belgian magazine, and somebody was translating, because I saw Soilwork in there in the actual interview. And that's when he was doing his solo stuff. And he's always been one of my heroes. And reading that just like made my knees just shake, and I just had to go home and cry for 2 hours. So that's basically what happened. Yeah.
So I'm sure you've met him then.
Yes.
Later on. How was that then?
I actually met him just shortly after that when he played.
That was with Fight back then?
No, it was with Halford.
Oh,
yeah. So I got to meet him then, and we sat down for like 20 minutes and talked, and that was the coolest thing ever. So yeah.
Have you seen one of the Comeback Priest shows?
Yes, I have. I saw the first round, I guess, when In Flames was opening. I'm trying to remember what year that was. But that was cool to see, for sure, yeah.
Ever talked about, you know, doing something together? I mean, that must have been something you would work on, you know. Come on, Rob, let's sing on our next double, triple album or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I've never asked him. It's not like we really stay in touch nowadays, but in the beginning we were in, you know, email contact, but he was just too much of an idol to even ask, you know. It was just too crazy, you know. But I kind of regret that now, you know. And I guess instead, Five Finger Death Punch got the gig. Yeah.
Yeah. Please tell us about the Baby Formula.
The Baby Formula?
Yeah, it was this studio location. It's Swedish for Baby Formula. What was it?
Oh, well. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Valing, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Velling is the correct word for Baby Formula, but I see where you got that from now. Well, that's just like a little village where we recorded the album, you know. It's like middle of nowhere. Beautiful place.
Yeah, coming to that, The Living Infinite. It's a double album. You know, while recording the album, have you ever worried about, you know, having one disc being, you know, wonderful and the other might go, I don't know, down the hill or something for whatever reason? Was there a point in time where you figured, ah, come on, you know, let's skip this idea of a double?
That was mostly before we entered the studio, you know, seeing everything taking, you know, form or whatever was very interesting, and you had your doubts. But it never came close to where we said like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. It never went that far. So we felt pretty confident, but of course you had your doubts, you know. In the beginning it was like, wow, this is crazy, what are we doing? But then so many songs came in, and the whole band was involved, and we felt that the material was really diverse, and I think that's exactly what it needed to be. Yeah.
You just mentioned it. The whole band was involved.
Yeah.
Tell us about the songwriting for this record, because it was really different to previous ones.
Yeah, I mean, in the past it's mostly been, you know, 2 or 3 people writing the songs, but this time, like I mentioned, the whole band was involved. I mean, we live spread out all over the world, so we can't really do any jam sessions, which kind of sucks. Well, I would love to do that, but we're so used to it, right? So we basically just bounce files back and forth over the internet, so it's working out pretty good that way. And we had Dirk arranging a lot of the songs, and I think that's a great way of having the drummer sometimes arranging the songs, and Dirk is really good at it. And then I was writing 8 songs. David wrote 8 songs, and I wrote most of the lyrics, but also Flink wrote lyrics this time, and I've been trying to encourage him for years to contribute with some lyrics, and he's a really good lyricist, so that's really cool. And Sylvain wrote some songs, Sven wrote some songs, so it's yeah, it was just a matter of putting it together, you know, sending files back and forth, and kind of discuss, have Skype meetings and whatnot. So
it worked out great. So Soilwork will be a band that always releases double albums from now on.
We're kind of hooked, yeah. I don't know. It just seems so boring to release like a regular album after this, because it was such a great ride and turned out really good.
That's so old school.
Yeah, that's very old school. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Something else interesting you're working on, Elegy Guitar Works. Please tell us about that.
Well, basically, I'm pretty much based in Toronto nowadays. My girlfriend is from there, so that's.
I'm sorry, I have to ask. Have you caught on that with the mayor in Toronto?
Oh yeah, I have. That's wow, what a story. Yeah, I can't believe it. Just keeps getting worse too. I don't know what to say. He just looks so guilty. He always looked guilty, even before this.
He looks guilty. He performs guilty.
I know.
He's like,
it's crazy. Yeah. So what was the question again?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Elegy Guitar Works.
Yes. So basically, like I said, I'm pretty much living in Toronto. I have an apartment there. I no longer have an apartment in Sweden. My parents still live there, but so I'm based there pretty much. And I do have a friend there, a good friend named Dave Sheldon, who's in the band called X's for Eyes. And he approached me about maybe creating like a guitar brand together, you know. And he has some ideas, he has some connections, some factories. So that's what we're doing. We just got the prototypes in, and they're looking absolutely amazing. So if people want to check it out, we do have a Facebook page, and there's lots of pictures. And yeah, I mean, we're looking into making a pretty big brand, and that's going to be really focused on metal with 6, 7, 8 strings, possibly more, but also bass guitars as well, possibly, you know, guitar pedals, stuff like that as well. So yeah.
Wow. So it's more than just being an endorsee of somebody. You're like building your own.
Exactly. Yeah. I think instead of, you know, I do play guitar as well, especially when it comes to songwriting, and obviously I'm not playing it live. I don't know if I could, you know, pull it off, but I am really interested in, you know, in guitars, and it was really an exciting offer, you know, and I guess I will be more of the A&R guy, and my friend Dave Sheldon, he's really into like all the electronics and you know, kind of the details of the guitars, and maybe I will kind of help a little bit with you know, making the shapes of the guitars, the headstock, everything like that, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you've mentioned it. You do play guitar yourself. You did play in a ska band back in the days.
You've been digging deep. Yeah.
Do you still do something like that, just for fun on a party of a friend or something?
No, I don't actually. I do have a classic rock band, sounding very like late '70s, called the Night Flight Orchestra. So that's pretty much what I'm doing outside the metal world, so to speak. But yeah, the ska band, like back then, like in the mid '90s, I was doing everything at the same time. I was in a black metal band, I was in a ska band, I was in all kinds of different bands, and I think that was a great way to discover things, your musicality and all of that.
Well, coming back to Soilwork, you got your place in metal history. Do you want to continue this path, or is there something where you would say, well, we have to do something really different in another 5 years, we have to do a symphonic whatever?
Wow, hard to say. I mean, I think with this new album, we're definitely, discovering something new, and I'm really excited to take it further. And because it is pretty progressive and very diverse, but it somehow works really well. So I don't. It's really hard to say. We want to keep on reaching new people. Of course, there's still people out there in the metal world who hasn't heard about Soilwork. So yeah,
There's still a few.
Still a few. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming to that. You've toured the world pretty much. First tour was in Japan, right? Early days. That was like a short trip to Japan, couple dates.
Yeah, that was one of the first. Yeah, we came to Japan at a very early stage in '99, right after our first album was released, actually. So. But we did do a tour, a European tour in a camper with Christian, the Brazilian death metal band, in '98, and yeah, so that was a lot of fun. That was 2 weeks. It was just playing really crappy venues all over Europe, and but Japan, yeah, that was one of the earliest and most exciting things we did.
Sure, that must have been a kick, coming out of the studio, first record, and now you. Wow, big in Japan.
Yeah, crazy. I didn't expect that at all. That's something that you always dreamt of, and then suddenly, okay, you go to Japan. We're like, what? Really? So, yeah.
Being a musician, you're pretty much on tour all the time. Do you care before, a tour gets built up? Wow, we have to go to this place because we've never played, I don't know, Venezuela or whatever.
Well, I mean, it is exciting to visit new places, for sure. Like we just did China for the first time, and we did Mexico City before that. That was also the first. So it's always cool, to come to new places. But usually when you go to some of those places, it's a lot of flying and no sleep, and so that can be very tiring as well. We still haven't done South America, for example, which is a shame, of course. But
you got to do Rock in Rio.
I know. That would have been cool.
MULATSCHAG!